I've procrastinated massively on making this video because honestly I just didn't know where to start in unpacking this experience. I've never meditated before. I can't sit still long enough to even watch a film, and I'm always doing about 4 things at once. So naturally, in true Miriam style, I signed myself up for 10 days of living like a Buddhist monk, nothing but meditation for 10 hours a day. It was the most difficult thing I have ever done. And spoilers, the silence and someone locking your phone away for the entire time was the easy bit. I think we're gonna need to get a bit more comfortable for this one. So grab yourself a drink and get cozy. Let's chat about the experience. That's a bit better. A cup of tea. Oh, it's very hot, very hot. Let's talk about what Vipassana even is to start with. Vipassana is an ancient Buddhist technique where you try and feel all of the sensations across the body and stay completely equanimous to those sensations. What do I mean by equanimous? So equanimous is no craving and no aversion. The technique is based on this idea that the source of all misery is either craving or aversion. The scientific element is that everything that you have a craving or aversion to manifests as a sensation in the body. We're just not usually very attuned to feeling those sensations when they come up. So these like cravings and aversions are deeply ingrained in us, and the only way to eradicate them is to achieve a neutral state in this meditation where you're no longer generating new cravings or aversions, known as sankharas in the technique. If you are no longer generating new sankharas, then all the old ones will come to the surface to be eradicated according to the law of Dhamma, so the law of nature. Why on earth did I decide to do this? So what drew me to do it in the first place? So I honestly did not understand what I was doing. And that's what drew me to it, was not understanding what I was actually signing up for. Never meditated before. I had a very silly, naive idea of what meditation is. And I know there are lots of meditation techniques out there. My understanding was that I was basically going to go and daydream for 10 days. I had a lot of things to work through, a lot of things kind of churning up and kind of eating away at me, and I wanted to take some space away from my day-to-day life to process those things. That was not this. There was no time to process anything. The focus required for the technique was ridiculous. It was exhausting. That's why we'll move on to talking about what it was actually like. So let's go over some basics first. So the things like the food, the accommodation, what the environment was like. So it is very basic, and this was another reason I wanted to do it. I'm very attached to the comforts of my life, my own space, being very particular about things like the smell of dishes and down to everything. I can be very, very particular. So relinquishing control of absolutely everything. So what I eat and the whole environment, relinquishing control, it's all part of the dissolution of the ego. It's all part of it. It's all part of the technique. So I was in a dorm room with 3 other girls. One of the girls left partway through. There were only 2 showers and there were only 2 toilets in our toilet block, in like our section. And that was really tough. There was always a queue. Getting in the shower was quite a struggle because you could only shower at specific intervals in the day that were not the meditation hours. Finding time that was not the meditation hours was really tricky because obviously the whole schedule is just meditation. I'll walk you through that in a minute. The food was vegetarian, quite simple. They did a really good job, honestly, catering the whole thing. A lot of work has gone into it. Like, it's all donation based. You are living off the charity of others. And again, there is a reason for that. It's part of the dissolution of the ego. Something that I felt that I needed to try to see if I could tear myself away from all the comforts and control of my day-to-day life for at least 10 days. Something inside me was very concerned that if I couldn't even do that for 10 days, I was much too attached to these things. You're completely separate in food and accommodation, so male and female eat and sleep and everything separately, that you're completely cordoned off. Like you don't even see any of the men the entire time until the very end. And the food, you get 2 small meals, both before 12 noon, and then nothing else the rest of the day. If you're a new student, so if you've never done a course before, you can have a piece of fruit at the tea break at 5 p.m. Didn't always partake. So the rule is you get a piece of fruit and a cup and some herbal tea. And people were making like full on fruit salads with all different types of things. Like fair enough, you do get very hungry at the start when you're still adjusting, but you eventually lose all interest in food, or at least I did, I guess, because you're not really moving around very much. When you arrive, your phone gets like locked away. It gets put in a little pouch and locked away. Your car key gets locked in a locker, so you didn't have access to anything. Like if you really want to leave, you can, and we'll get to that in a minute. And I was so surprised that I didn't reach for it even once. When I'm walking, I'm constantly writing notes to myself, ideas or things I'm thinking about. I didn't reach for it even once, even when I was walking. So I found that really interesting. And when they give it back to you at the end, it feels more like something's being taken away than given back. The people then, what was the demographic like? The demographic was surprisingly mostly young people. So they were all very similar age to me or younger. A couple of people like in their 40s. I don't know for the guys. The guys looked pretty young as well. But the people were lovely. Like the small bits of conversation that we did get to have at the beginning before the noble silence started on the evening. And then when the noble silence was lifted at the very end, the people were just incredible. Everyone took it so seriously. I was a little bit concerned, like what if people get a bit silly in the silence and don't take it actually very seriously, then I'm going to struggle to take it seriously. Everybody took it so seriously. There was no even like secret little conversations in the rooms. It was all completely silent and very respectful of other people's experience. And I thought that was wonderful. The other thing that really hit me was just watching people look at, because all you can do is you meditate, and then in the breaks you have your food, and then you can do a little walk in the garden or sleep, basically, because you're not getting a lot of sleep. And walking around the garden, like the way everybody just was observing nature, like you start like looking at individual blades of grass and all the insects, and people were just looking so closely and taking it all in, and watching the birds, watching the ducklings. That was such a joy to see. I don't really get to see a lot of people properly engaging with their surroundings and observing their surroundings and their present moment in that way. That was something that was so noticeable, and I was a little bit like, oh, it's a shame I can't talk to these people, because when I see that, I'm like, oh yeah, these are my kind of people. Daily timetable. Let's get the timetable, the daily schedule here. This was the leaflet that you get given when you arrive. So 4 a.m. you get woken up with the gong, straight in the meditation hall, and it's a meditation session for 2 hours. And honestly, this was the hardest thing, because my body just like, I could stay awake, just, you know, when your body gets into that like uncomfortable, like you just want to stretch, you just need to lie down, your body just feels so uncomfortable. Yeah, I really struggled with that. And sitting still for 2 hours in the in silence, like I don't know why, that first 2 hours of the day I really struggled with. And then you get an hour and a half for breakfast, so that's one of the times where you could go and shower, but you also have to like queue and get your breakfast, and you all wash up your dishes afterwards as well, so there's like a bit of cleanup. Yeah, trying to beat people into the showers was tough. So often I would just like rush breakfast and then run to try and get a shower. So yeah, I ate the same thing every single morning. I had just 2 slices of toast with jam and peanut butter. They serve like porridge and cereals and yogurts and stuff, but eventually I lost all interest in eating, but we'll get to that in a minute. Then you do an hour's meditation session, followed by 2 hours meditation session, followed by a lunch break. There's rest for an hour, rest and interviews with the teacher. So if you want to go and talk about the technique or any issues that you're facing, another hour and a half meditation session, another hour group meditation. So those are the times that are mandated that you're in the hall. And then there's an hour tea break at 5 p.m, followed by group meditation, then a discourse by S.N. Goenka. So there are like these video recordings of teachings by Goenka, so you listen to those. And then group meditation, then there's half an hour for questions, and it's lights out at 9:30 p.m. That's the schedule. It's basically just meditation break, meditation break. And I was like, oh, I'm sure, if there are little breaks in between, then I'm sure I'll be able to power through the meditation session. But when you've sat for like 2 hours and then there's only a 5-minute break followed by another hour, or worse, when you have an hour 5-minute break followed by 2 hours meditation, your brain does start to be like, I just can't do this anymore. There are like 5 precepts that you take: that you won't kill, steal, lie, those kinds of things. Uphold basic morality, essentially. And that's supposed to help with the meditation practice. So honestly, none of that was the difficult part. So the first 3 days, you're just doing what's called Anapana meditation. So all you're doing is trying to concentrate your mind to actually feel sensations on the body. So you start with a very small area. So you start focusing on the nasal area. So you focus on the breath and you just observe the breath exactly as it is, because obviously the whole concept of Vipassana is just to observe things as they are, to see things as they really are. But then you focus in on like trying to feel sensation on the tiniest section of skin under your nostril. You focus and you really have to try and feel that area. And obviously there's reason for it, but you don't really understand it at the start. So you're just sitting hour after hour, somebody telling you to try and feel sensation right here. And you're just like, I can't feel anything. And that's like 10 hours a day. So almost like 40 hours, because you don't learn the Vipassana technique until midway through day 4. 40 hours of somebody to tell you to sit and just feel the sensations here. Quite frustrating, like initially, and difficult to focus your mind. And obviously when your mind wanders, you just have to bring it back to the breath and stick it out. And I was like determined. I was like, we're really gonna apply this and give it a fair trial. The focus was really difficult. Like when you've come from being completely distracted, like levels of distraction, wanting distraction from your distraction, like then to sit and actively focus for 10 hours a day from 4 a.m, like it was tough. At day 4, you get up, you're kind of excited. There's going to be a change, okay? There's going to be something different. So you almost look forward to any bit of novelty. Goenka's recordings walk you through the Vipassana technique in the afternoon of day 4. And this is where the sit of strong determination starts. So I should probably explain like where you're at day 3 and day 4 is your whole body is in agony, and people tell you it hurts to sit for that long. You don't register how much it actually hurts. Like you're just sitting cross-legged with no back support for like 40 hours. And my back, my whole traps, like everything with my neck, everything was in agony. Your legs go dead, and everyone's like, the noise is like everyone's shuffling around. So even though you're trying to stay focused in meditation, like everyone's shuffling around, people are sighing, you can feel the tension and the discomfort. Day 4, you realize that that's the whole point. And this was the bit that I was like, if I had known, I don't know that I would have done this, because you realize that the point of it is you are not supposed to be in pain, but it's inevitable that you will be in pain and discomfort, and you are supposed to just sit with the discomfort and accept it for what it is. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is torture. Because when you learn the Vipassana technique, you realize that the point of it is to observe the sensations and not react, so that you don't create a craving or you don't create an aversion. So your legs are going completely dead. Your back is in absolute agony. All your limbs are screaming at you to move, and you're not allowed to move because moving is a reaction to the sensation. So yeah, that got really, really tough, because from day 4 to the rest of the course, every hour after that is you are scanning your entire body from head to foot to try and feel sensation on every single part of your body and not react to it. And that becomes difficult for a number of reasons. So the pain increases over time. Obviously, the more you sit still, the more like your legs go numb, there's numbness everywhere. Your brain wants to react to it. It's like, it's not healthy. Why are you sitting like this? You need circulation. You're going to cut your legs off. Like, there's going to be a problem. You're going to cause yourself problems, or you're going to cause yourself ergonomic problems. Like, your brain rages at you. But then also, like, just the scanning of your body. Like, you imagine you're sitting in the meditation hall, scanning the back of your scalp for the 200th time, trying to feel something, and you can't feel anything. There are huge, like, blind spots on my body. But being able to hone in and focus on those areas when your back is screaming at you is also really, really difficult. So I found that so interesting, and I really, really struggled. I felt like leaving every single day, only semi-seriously. Like, I wasn't ready to go and have a conversation with the course manager except on day 8. But there were a couple of things that happened that kept me there. First time that Goenka walked us through the Vipassana technique, after we just focused on Anapana for the first 3.5 days, I had started to feel sensation on this tiny area. You can feel like little tingling. He walks you through the technique. You go from the very top of your head and you're trying to feel sensation at the very top of your head. Feels so alien. And then you go down part by part. So your forehead, your scalp, your whole face, like individual parts, and you're trying to like feel sensation. And as he walked us through, like, I was feeling sensation on some parts of my body. But as I said, there were huge blind spots on other areas. But he was like, remain equanimous. So even if you don't feel anything, accept the moment for what it is and just go back round. So he walked us through the whole body once, and then he said, go back to the top of your head. And that, as soon as I brought my attention back to the top of my head, my heart started racing. My eyes were streaming with tears. Like, I wasn't consciously doing this, like I wasn't crying or anything. Like, it felt like a complete involuntary reaction. Heart was racing, tears were streaming down my face, and all of my back pain completely dissolved instantly. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. You're observing all of these sensations with the understanding of anicca, which is that your body is an ever-changing phenomenon, and you focus on that to the degree where you can feel it changing. So the idea of sensation is change. So I felt like I'd really experienced something quite profound, and obviously you can't talk to anyone about it. So I was a little bit freaked out, honestly. But like, you learn through the discourses in the evenings taught by Goenka that the whole technique is about experiencing wisdom, so panye. Because wisdom is usually learned from others, processed and analysed in the brain. What he's trying to teach with this technique is experiential wisdom. So something known in the body and used to actually reprogram the subconscious mind at the deepest level by like eradicating these sankharas and liberating your mind from cravings and aversions. After that happened on day 4, I was a bit like, oh, maybe there is something to this, okay? Maybe I should remain open-minded and keep trying. Yeah, when I say like my back was in actual agony after 4 days of sitting and trying to sit still, for it just all to completely disappear. Yeah, I was astounded. Continue with the meditation. It does get very, very difficult to keep your focus, and your pain changes, your discomfort changes, and you have to remind yourself every single time to get into the state of accept the moment for what it is. Like, accept that pain is part of the human existence, accept that it is what it is, don't try to change it. Observe it. And something that the teacher said that really, really helped me stay equanimous was, she was saying it to somebody else. She said, observe the pain like you're a doctor looking at somebody else's pain. So like, detach yourself from it completely. And that helped massively. It helped me be able to observe and feel the pain without mentally reacting to it. So different from what I had expected, because when people have said meditation in the past and I've not really understood the concept, my expectation was you sort of create this nice, safe, peaceful place in your mind to escape your body and escape all your troubles, and this is that place, and that peace is what carries you through the vicissitudes, like all the ups and downs of life. This was so different to that. This was, no, you remain in your body. You don't try to escape. You remain in your body, very much so. Your presence and your awareness stays in your physical self, and you actually utilize that to reprogram your subconscious mind. So different for me, because I am such a in my head intellectual analytical person that it was just entirely new for me to be constantly bringing my attention back into my body and feeling the sensations. Really strange. So continued, obviously, as the days went on. So from day 4 to day 7, trying, cycling my attention through my body, trying to feel all the sensations. Some areas would come online easier than others. I also had a bit of a weird dream. And I know not everybody pays attention to dreams, but I do. I do think they can be quite insightful. I think they can be quite interesting, and they can be quite symbolic. And I had this dream where I was running, trying to get somewhere in London, not like me, but I was running through the streets and trying to get somewhere, and there were all of these JCB diggers, these enormous diggers that were pulling up dirt. They were excavating and putting the dirt in the street, and I was putting all the rubble in the streets, and I was yelling at them, what are you doing? Why are you putting this in the street? To me, that showed me that something was happening in my subconscious. Stuff was being moved around and brought to the surface by the technique. So I was okay, I was maybe I should pay attention and keep going with this. So day 8, this was the worst day turned best day. From day 4, every hour sat in meditation, trying to ignore pain in areas screaming at you and try and focus on tiny areas to feel sensation, became very, very difficult. You get very weary, focus falls away, and I was really starting to beat myself up. The final session on the evening of day 7, I was raging at myself. I had such a loud inner critic. I was you've got such a weak mind. How are you not able to do this? And my brain started to protest, completely protest. So when we would sit to meditation in the sessions, my brain was no. We're not looking at the body anymore. We're not observing ourselves anymore. We're sick of this. Is the goal of this to make us never want to meditate again because it's working? Completely done, to the point where I need my car key. I need to get in my car. I need to drive away. I can't believe I left Kiwi this long for this. I've never meditated before in my life. I'm sure I can live without it the rest of my life. And I was just done. I was so done. I was that was the time I was definitely, I'm going to the course manager. I made it 8 days. I made it longer than I thought I would. I'm getting out of here. I'll go and speak to the teacher and tell her I want to leave. You have to wait for that slot to go and speak to her for the interviews. So I literally hid in the garden. So you're not allowed to be outside during meditation hours, obviously, because things like the light and the wind and everything can disrupt you feeling specific sensations. So to actually apply the technique properly, you need to be inside. And so you're not allowed out in the garden or anything meditation hours. But I was so upset, I was so frustrated, and I was so fed up of the whole thing. And I really wanted to be alone. Like, there's nowhere to be alone. Even though you're in silence, everywhere you go, there are just other people around. So I didn't want to go back to my room because there were 3 other people in there. Hid in the bush, waited the whole 2 hours. I had like a little silent digital watch on to tell me the time. I was checking the time every 5 minutes. I was like, I just want to get out of here. And I went to speak to the teacher. She said, "Oh, good, it's working." I was like, what? This is probably a habit pattern of the mind that you have, and you should pay attention to it, but you shouldn't give up on the meditation because it means you're meditating well. And when I thought about that, like, because I told her about the block I was having, just couldn't meditate anymore. Every time we sat down, my brain was just refusing. In the discourses the night before, Goenka had said, "Oh, you might be feeling the benefits already. You might be thinking of people you want to recommend the course to." And in my mind, I was like, I'm not recommending this course to anyone. I'm not feeling any benefit. Like, I said that in like petulance, because obviously I'd had the dream that I was trying to pay attention to, and I'd had that experience on day 4 when we first went through the Vipassana meditation. Again, a habit pattern of the mind that I have is to not see the positives and to paint it all in a bit of a negative brush when it's not going my way, right? Because my main frustration was my focus, and I wasn't able to actually focus. And this loud inner critic that I had that was berating me about having such a weak mind and not being able to do it. And that is such a pattern that I have. At this point, at day 8, I had lost all interest in eating. I wasn't sleeping. Again, another habit pattern I have is to completely abandon myself. So day 8 turned around and I was like, okay, I will stick it out. You can do another 2 days. Whole day at this place feels like a lifetime. You can't continue on pure determination alone. You just couldn't. You really couldn't. You'd have to be following the technique and doing it properly. Anyway, so yeah, that was day 8. Like, I really just thought I'd failed. I thought I was doing a terrible job, and I just needed somebody to tell me that I wasn't, and that it was doing its job, and that these mind storms were kind of supposed to happen. I've been scanning the body every meditation session and feeling like light, tingling sensation all over. Day 8, when I got to my arms, like, I felt this zinging. Like, it wasn't a little tingling sensation. It was like a zinging from the inside out. The sensation was so strong. My arms felt like they were vibrating. It was the strangest thing. And then the next day, Goenka said about being able to penetrate through your body with your attention and feeling the sensation on the inside out. Okay, I know this sounds nuts, because the idea of feeling sensation on every outer part of my body before starting this course was nuts. But if that zinging thing hadn't have happened with my arms, I would have just rolled my eyes at Goenka saying that. But then I decided to try it on other, because he said about like spot checking areas of your body. And so I decided to try it with my scalp and like feel the sensation on the outside and then pierce through with my attention. And I could feel it. I can still feel the sensation now. I can't feel it now. I can feel it in my memory. My focus is not there right now, but I could feel my brain vibrating. It was the strangest, most bizarre feeling ever. still processing. Like, I didn't come away from the experience being like so elated and like this is the way, the truth and everything. I was still just like trying to stay open-minded and still being like, this, there probably is something to this because of the little things that I'd experienced, but I wasn't like, I'm gonna go preach this to the world. Okay, on the final meditation session, the sit of strong determination, as soon as your mind wanders, you lose the feelings in your body. You stop feeling the sensations across your body. I was so focused on my body and still feeling all of the sensations, but I got this vision in my mind of all of these flowers. Like, I could see these flowers growing up from the ground, all different colors. Like, the first ones I saw were like purples coming up, and I saw these little yellow flowers and like all of these gorgeous flowers. It was unbelievable. I was like, I couldn't believe I was seeing it in my mind, but also still feeling the sensations in my body. It was so vivid. And I've always been curious when people say like they have visions of things. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what are you seeing? But it was like behind my eyes, and I could really, it was like it was playing out in a screen in front of me. That's the best way I can do, like behind my eyes. It was like it was a screen playing out. And I finally understand what people mean when they say they had a vision of something. All of these flowers, and I was like, whoa, that was crazy. When I got home, pulled into my drive, and my garden looked like this. I cried my eyes out. I was just astounded. I couldn't believe it. This is what the garden looked like when I left it. Just a couple of days before I left it, I was trying to tidy it up. I had a bank valuation when I got back, and I was like, there's nothing I can do to make this look good. Nothing looked like it was growing except weeds. Could not believe it when I got home and the garden looked like that, and still looks like I've been sitting out there on the drive trying to enjoy it while it's there. It moves me every single time because I saw it so clearly. Some people describe some like crazy hallucinations that they get on these courses and some strange experiences. I didn't get any crazy hallucinations, but this is gonna sound so strange, but I could feel the flight of birds and butterflies. So when I watched birds flying and butterflies flying, I could feel it in my stomach. You know, when you're like on a roller coaster or something, or on a plane, and you can feel that fluttering in your stomach. I could feel that. A couple of other people did have some hallucinations, and you know, that's their stuff. But another thing I was really worried about was, would I get loads of traumatic memories coming up? And there were lots of traumatic memories that could have come up and have like come up in night terrors. And weirdly and very kindly, it was very kind to me. Only good memories came up, especially with my childhood, because of all the trauma. Chucked out all of the good memories with the bad. As with everything, like there were moments of light throughout my childhood, like a couple of kids that we used to play with on the street. Like one time we made the whole street was like on this massive slant, and we made the whole street into like a water slide. I think it was like with old packaging or something, and we spent the afternoon like on this slide, and for some reason that memory came up, and that was a fun memory. And we used to play all these imagination games pretending we were like, you know, lived on the street, and because I mean practically we did. Yeah, there were so many imagination games and stuff that came up. In such darkness, those little memories shine bright, much brighter, and it would be a shame to have completely discarded them. So it was so nice to reintegrate those memories. And like, to be clear, there wasn't a lot of time, so these were just like little moments scattered around the meditation sessions where I had these things come up. There's obviously loads of crap as well, like just absolute junk. Like I had the song Happy Birthday just going round and round my head at one point, and I'm sure Boris Johnson's face came into my mind clear as day, as if he were physically in my brain. And I was like, what is this? Like, there's just so much crap that needs to come up, especially in the first 3 days. Did it actually change me? When I left, so when I was driving home, it didn't last long, sadly, but I felt peace. Like, and I've never felt peace in my body. Like, I can conceptualize, but it always to some extent feels like I'm trying, or feels like it's one-dimensional, like in my brain. But I felt peace in my body, and that was highly unusual for me. It hasn't lasted. Like, I've actually felt quite down since getting back. I hate to say that. I should really be trying to stick to the meditation practice, because it does kick up all of these sankharas. Like, it does bring up all these things to the surface that need to be eradicated, which might be why I'm feeling quite down. So I should be sticking to the meditations. I mean, I did try and sit for a couple of sessions and struggled to make it even half an hour, but I do think it would be helpful for me to try. But I think the main reason I feel quite down is coming back to the loneliness, and I think to some extent feeling like I did want to have changed a lot more and wanted to have clarity on what to do with my life. That was one of the main reasons I went, and I didn't have time to think about any of that, because you're learning. It's a course. You are actually learning a technique, and there is no time to just process your own stuff. And I also felt quite down because when I got back, I just remember feeling, and this feeling has stuck around, I just really, really wanted somebody to look forward to seeing me when I got back, and to look forward to seeing someone, and also to tell them about the experience and unpack it with them. Somebody who like knows and trusts me and doesn't think that I'll just be like, that I actually say things that I mean, that I would have no other reason for saying things other than it's what I experienced. I think if you know what you're getting yourself in for, and you understand that the pain is a part of the process, the discomfort is all part of the process, and you understand what the technique is trying to get you to do, and you think there might be some truth in it, yes, the teachings of Goenka and the whole heart of it, could not agree with it all more. That resonated with me more than anything. The whole concept is just, may all beings be happy. That's the whole point. Just may all beings be happy. And obviously, to be happy, you have to go through the suffering and reframe your mind around it and stop resisting everything. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. I hope you've learned something about Vipassana, or maybe learned something about me. I'm just so grateful to have you here, and hopefully next week we'll be back to normal-ish style videos. If you have any ideas or anything you want to see, please let me know, and we will see you next week. Kiwi's pestering for her dinner, so I'm gonna go feed her. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing, and we will see you next week. May all beings be happy.